That was pretty much it for back, and then we just did some posing clips showing what my back looks like right now.
It's not... Coach Greg, and in today's video, we're going to be going over Alex Eubank's back training as he prepares for his very first competition. Is he behind? Is he on point? How's he looking? How's he going to do? And is he optimizing his back training?
We're going to be doing a Q&A later in this video. I figured I'd show you guys what I did for back. Today I'm training a little bit different than what I usually would do, so I figured I'd walk you guys through it.
And to start off, he's showing his hardest working set. And so previously, he had warmed up. And so the first thing I noticed is this weight, it's too heavy for him. The reason I know it's too heavy is because from the very first rep, he's already not using strict form. You can see as he raises the bar up, his butt, it gets off the bench. He's lowering it without much control, eccentric, concentric at the same speed. He should be lowering the eccentric slower than concentric, and he's doing this to build up momentum. Momentum in order to be able to pull the weight down with relative ease. Also, he doesn't go to full extension. He's stopping shy of being fully locked out. It'd be analogous to doing a chin-up and not going all the way down. Obviously, if you're doing partial chin-ups, you'll be able to complete more reps. And so that's what he's doing here. He's doing more reps by shortening the range of motion, rushing through it, and using momentum. But what I do like, what you should try to copy, is the intensity. Notice how hard he's training. He's going to failure and beyond. As he becomes more fatigued, the bar no longer can go all the way down. This is perfectly acceptable. A lot of people think, no, he didn't complete the rep. That's because he can't complete the rep, but he doesn't want to stop while going easy. He prefers intensity over volume, does about 3 hard sets for a given exercise. Rather than doing multiple sets of junk volume, he's making each of these sets as hard as he possibly can. The bar path is great. He knows what he's doing. The only problem that I see is the weight is simply too heavy. If he were to lighten the weight by about 10%, perhaps 1 or 2 plates less, he could begin the exercise with perfect technique. And then if he wants to swing a little bit, use a little body English, cheat the reps towards the end, 100% acceptable. If you're pushing to failure and beyond, your reps are not going to look all perfect. And so it's okay to train as Alex is doing, but if you want to perfect it to get it even better, start with a lighter weight, train properly and effectively, and save the cheating for towards the end of the set.
And then I switched up the grip and I tried the other variation, which I kind of liked a little bit more than the underhand, the closer grip.
Up next, the TBarro, and he likes to perform multiple sets with various grips. I do the exact same thing. And where I have back problems, herniated disc, L4, L5, it's a lot better for me to have chest supported rows whenever possible. You could, as an alternative, do bent over rows or perhaps seated rows, but this is a great exercise for your back, and Alex is demonstrating very solid technique as he goes through the eccentric and concentric motions. Notice the speed of the eccentric. It's slower than the concentric, and he's demonstrating very good control on the downward motion. And notice how hard he's training, and once he reaches failure, he doesn't stop. He has a partner assisting him during the concentric motion to bang out a couple extra reps beyond failure. This allows him to train harder than last time without risking injury. If you're loading up massive amounts of weights, how often have we seen guys doing 3 and 4 plates, doing bent rows, but swinging for all they got? It almost looks like they're doing a deadlift when doing their bent rows. In comparison, chest-supported T-bar rows, a lot safer, great exercise to add if you're trying to build up your back.
So I love training with more intensity versus volume, so I only did like 3 hard sets of that.
And although there's several ways to train, you could kind of narrow it into 2 ways. You can either train hard, or you can train easier with more volume. You can't do both. You can't go out and train 20 hard sets to failure. Something is going to give up. The fewer sets you do, the harder you need to train. And in comparison, the easier train, the more you have to make up with added volume. And so Alex, like me, he prefers doing fewer sets with greater intensity. And what I personally like to do when doing T-bar rows is I mix up my grip on each set. And so for example, if I'm doing 4 sets of T-bar rows, I'll do 1 set wide, 1 set a bit closer, another set narrow supinated grip, and another set a little bit wider with a supinated grip. I mix it up, getting a different angle in each set, but it's perfectly okay to use the same grip for multiple sets. Whatever you want to do, whatever's more enjoyable, whatever you feel the best, well, stick to that, as I'd rather you enjoy your workout than do something that's not fun.
I literally don't even count my reps ever really when I train. All I know is I just try to put as heavy a weight as I can.
And what about the rep range? Well, he says, I don't count reps. I go by how hard I'm training. I'm always trying to train to failure, perhaps a little bit beyond. And so it's not like he's trying to do 5, 10, 15 reps. He's simply training with a weight that feels good, that allows him to give the proper contraction, and that he can push himself to failure. And if you really think about it, the rep range, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter!
Studies have shown that it's not how many reps you do, it's how close to failure are you training. And so whether you're doing sets of 5, 10, 15, what's more important than the reps you're doing is how hard are you pushing yourself. And so if you're a person that likes to train really heavy, you're doing sets of 5 to 8, well, fine, do that, but train hard. And if you like to do lighter weights for higher reps like Coach Greg, closer to 15, well, also fine. Just make sure you're pushing yourself and not getting injured using poor technique.
I'm going to rep it out as much as I can, go past failure as much as I can, literally until I feel like I'm about to pass out. So that's what I was doing here on this set. Abby was helping assist me.
One thing I'd like to point out is that Alex is not a beginner lifter. He's literally getting ready for competition. If you're a beginner, perhaps even an early intermediate, there's no reason to push yourself to failure and beyond on every single set. That most likely will lead to overtraining. But if you've been training for years, you haven't been able to make any progress, you certainly need to push harder than last time, and this is an excellent way to do so.
I was feeling pretty woozy. This was an early workout. I only had like probably 300 calories in me. Did this in the morning. Usually don't train this early.
The guy is dieting. He's in a calorie deficit. My personal opinion, you don't want to go and train on such few amount of calories when you're cutting. If you're bulking up or you ate a big meal the night before, then no big deal. You can get up, train fasted. But if you're not, you have low glycogen stores, you haven't eaten enough breakfast, you're going to run low on energy and not be able to push yourself. And this applies to both cardio and weights. Remember, food is fuel. And if your body is not properly fueled, how can you expect it to run at 100% capacity? 300 calories for a dieting bodybuilder for breakfast is not nearly enough. He needs to eat more. I would say minimum 500 calories. If he ate more, he'd have more energy, could push harder than last time, and allow him to maintain or build more muscle as he diets for his first ever competition. And what you'll notice is Alex training in a t-shirt, he doesn't appear that big. He doesn't have massive arms. But once the shirt comes off and he's wearing a tank top, you can see that small waist coupled with wide shoulders and amazing back development. You can see just how good he really is. Notice the control he's exhibiting during the eccentric phase of the motion. You see that control, and in comparison, the explosive power on the way down. The pausing. The guy's demonstrating picture-perfect techniques on this exercise. And so this, I suggest you copy exactly as he's doing. And notice at the end of the set, he's just trying to bang out a couple extra reps. This is 100% okay. A lot of people think, oh, look at his form. It got sloppy at the end. That's because he's trying to push past failure. If your form looks picture-perfect all the time, chances are you're probably not pushing that hard. At the end of the set, not at the start, that's when it's okay to use some body English, force out some extra reps, make yourself push harder than last time.
Here's just a different angle showing what my back looks like. I was very watery this day. I don't know if it's because I had like a cheat meal the other night, but I was very watery.
And here's what his back looks like. To me, looks shredded. Amazing. In his eyes, looking watery. But let me tell you, when you're dieting for competition, the eyes, they start deceiving you. You see fat where it isn't really. Other people look at your physique, think, wow, look how amazing you look. But you look at yourself and think, no, I'm bloated today. Look how watery I am. Really? Does anyone think this looks watery? And how could he look watery? He's eating 2,000 calories a day and eating 300 calories for breakfast. Where would the water come from? From drinking water? How is that possible? If you're bulking, eating tons of carbs, perhaps you look a bit watery. Perhaps you're a little bit bloated. And so what does he say he's going to do? Drop his carbs even further. No, that is a big mistake. You don't want to decrease your glycogen stores just so that you don't look watery. You don't look watery. Your brain is just deceiving you. That's why many times people, they need to get a coach. The coach will then tell them, look, you're not watery. You're on point. This is how you should look. Keep doing what you're doing. If you suddenly drop carbs thinking, well, I want to look leaner, this far out from the show, you're going to have less energy, train less intensely, and you're not going to keep the muscle that you've earned.
I think right now, this morning, I weighed 175, so we're down, I believe, like 2 pounds from a week ago, which is pretty solid.
And so think of it. He's 175, down 2 pounds from a week ago, but says he's watery. If you're down 2 pounds, you're clearly less watery. If you're literally 2 pounds down the scale, you shouldn't look more watery. If anything, you should be looking leaner. But perhaps the diet's getting to you and you no longer are able to see what we see. We see a shredded guy that's doing amazing. There's no need to further reduce calories. 2,000 calories a day on low carbs, doing 30 to 50 minutes of cardio a day. That is not a lot of food. And for a young guy who's 175 pounds of mostly muscle, you shouldn't have to crash diet any further than this. Next up, rack pulls. And what I notice here is his rack pulls are set very, very low. When I like to do rack pulls, I like the bar to be at kneecap level. He's far lower than this. And this exercise, very hard on your lower back. And so if you're suffering from lower back injuries, problems, and it's something that you've experienced in the past, like Coach Greg has, this is an exercise that you should avoid. If you want to try this, place the rack higher. Have it at kneecap level or slightly above. There's nothing inherently wrong about this exercise. In fact, it's a great exercise for some people, but it's not something you have to do. I personally believe that deadlifts, whether it be sumo, conventional, or trap bar, these are amazing exercises to add density and thickness to your back. And what you'll notice on each of these reps is he's pausing at the bottom. He stops, pauses, resets himself, and pulls up. He lifts under great control, both concentrically and eccentrically, and so he's doing it in a very safe and controlled fashion. Next up, unilateral rows, doing seated rows, one arm at a time. Great for mind-muscle connection. Personally, I'm not a fan of unilateral exercises as it takes a lot longer. By the time I've done 10 to 15 reps on my left arm, I don't feel like doing 10 to 15 on my right. I prefer doing these exercises, both arms at the same time. But if you're having trouble getting the proper mind-muscle connection and you really want to try it, I would say warm up with this. Use a lighter weight, warm up the muscles doing this, and then try doing both arms at the same time. Very important to use your back. He says keep your elbows down and together. That will allow you to minimize your biceps during this exercise, as oftentimes people will roll up, overly using the bicep to lift the weight up. You want to roll lower, allows you to contract the back, less bicep involvement.
That was pretty much it for back, and then we just did some posing clips showing what my back looks like right now.
It's not watery. This is no, it's not watery. And even if you were watery, that is not where you store water. When you're watery, dieting for competition, it's almost always in your abdominals. Very rare to see people holding a bunch of water while on low carb, low calorie diet in a deficit where there's water in their back. And the lat spread, clearly on point. Guy's an amazing back, doesn't have a lot of water. This is just how you're supposed to look when you're dieting for competition.
Again, it's really hard doing this like prep stuff while being a full-time influencer and getting 3 videos out a week. It is a lot of work.
And it's no joke. Having to diet, being in a calorie deficit, having to think, editing all his videos, putting out 3 videos a week, that is hard. He does a lot. I'm sure many of you wish you could look like this, be single-digit body fat, but the reality is it's not realistic for 99% of the population. When you diet to this extent, you're not only going to be starving, you're going to suffer from lower energy, lower testosterone, hard to sleep, decreased libido. Everything seems to become harder. Thinking becomes harder. Sometimes your mood will go down, and so please don't try to diet to this extent unless, of course, you have to for competition. Have realistic goals, perhaps 15% body fat for men, 25% for women. Hope you enjoyed the video. And if you're looking for HTLT supplements, including the new Seco bars, they're back in stock. Pre-workout protein powder, G-Shred, G-Stim, 3-Test and G-Test in case you're having lower testosterone levels, ashwagandha, Ali's favorite Tomcat Ali. The list goes on and all. Also, the cookbooks, the training books, the Circle Diet book, coaching plans by me and my team. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment for the algorithm. Watch the bloops. Follow me on IG, Greg Doucette IP Pro. And don't forget, use code Greg everything. It's freaking 10% off. Code Greg, G-R-E-G, 10% off. Click the link in the bio. And until next time, I am out.